Shut up and sit down. And sit down.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 360 Sports Show, a special Monday night edition of the show. I'm Andrew Pizzelli. He's Christian Lauber. We got a lot to get through here today. You can reach us at any time in the comment section of the live streams or by emailing the show, the360sportshow at gmail.com. We've got NBA news, we got NFL news, NHL expansion, the Olympics, a whole lot to get through. And Christian, I think since we went like you did a show, then I did a show, and now we're back together. And the most recent, biggest thing to conclude, and it's been a couple of days, so some of our opinions have kind of percolated on this a little bit, is the Milwaukee Bucks coming back from 0-2 down to win the NBA Finals. So they are the champions. Giannis gets his ring. He took the he's not a hometown deal, but he decided to sign that big contract, stick it out. Everything you saw post game, we did it here without a super team, blah, blah, blah. A real feel good, rewarded the small market team with the superstar type story. A lot of things to feel good about. What is before we break down some of the gamey stuff, just your overall reaction to the Bucks winning the NBA title?
Yeah, by game 3, I was kind of rooting for him because I think Giannis is an easy guy to root for, the way he carries himself and everything of the like. So overall, I thought the series was actually pretty decent beyond game 2, and it got better as they went. That being said, the Suns kind of bored me, in all honesty. I thought I just don't think Booker's there yet, in terms of, like, he's not a LeBron, he's not a Kawhi, he's not a guy like that's going to measure up in terms of star power to a guy like Giannis, who is very compelling. And obviously, Giannis played unbelievably. So that's just kind of my initial. Anyway, outside of the games alone, I just thought the Suns games 1 and 2, okay. But even then, like, they're just kind of a team that bored me as the series went on. I feel like that hurt the series, the product. So, we can talk about ratings and everything like that. But overall, it did not do as well as this other years.
Yeah, I think for Phoenix, and you saw it, they win games 1 and 2. He said, all right, well, what more? I mean, the Bucks it looks like a mismatch. The Bucks are doing all the bad things. We've said they're being bad Bucks. The poor rotations defensively, not attacking mismatches. Even though Giannis was delivering, nobody else was doing anything whatsoever. And we said if the other guys don't deliver, Bucks don't have a shot to win a game, let alone get back in the series. That changed in game 3. And game 4, pivotal game, I felt for Phoenix as a young team. Yes, Chris Paul is experienced, but he's the only guy. And he doesn't have championship experience. They needed game 4. They needed to be front-running a bit. Once they lost game 4, they go home. I think a young team feels like, well, we got this. We've been good all year at home, blah, 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 blah. And they started really great in game 5 and then let down. Big collapse. And as soon as that happened, you said, no shot. This series is over. The Bucks are clicking on all cylinders. They're locked in. They smell blood. Can a young team that's never been there before go on the road and beat a team in their building to deny them a championship for another night? That's a real tough ask. Even if some of those guys had been more seasoned. And I think you saw that with Booker, where it looked like everybody else, you said they got boring. It looked like everybody else kind of just said, well, this is Devin's time to shine, and he isn't that upper echelon enough star yet to just carry the whole team. And that's not what the Suns were all year. Just kind of this hero ball-esque ISO thing. The ball was not moving at all the way it had most of the year and early on in this series for the Suns. And Game 5, big difference. You saw Giannis late, as the series went on. Honestly, this whole playoffs, quick decision-making. He's either attacking the rim or he's making a move and then getting the ball out to somebody. Devin Booker was starting to get into that, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to attack the rim. Well, that's not there, so should I fade away? And everybody's kind of watching him, so even if he gets the ball back out, that's what happened. He got stripped in Game 5 and off to the races. You went from maybe he wins it to oops, he turned it over and now we're losing.
You want to talk about a worse turnover is Chris Paul, so...
he had terrible
series overall.
He had a terrible series. And I don't know to what degree... did he empty the tank in the conference finals to get there? He did not have anywhere. He drops 41 points in the conference final, like the last game. He didn't have a performance like that at all in the finals. So this is I don't think the Suns will get back here, and that means that I don't think Chris Paul gets back. That was his one shot.
Well, I think he's gone anyway, right?
Who knows? I don't know what is. Will he want to be on 4 teams in 4 different years? Will you want to go Houston,
right.
OKC, Phoenix to somewhere else? Hey, right? For the money? But would he want to stay less, like in Phoenix for less?
I doubt it. He wants term and he wants money. 2 of which he probably won't get in Phoenix.
Well, yeah, good luck to him then. But yeah, Phoenix obviously disappointed, but with what it's kind of like the tale of two. It's the tale of two halves. It's everything we were saying the Bucks weren't doing, they decided to do, and it was like the Suns completely forgot who they were. So one team found themselves, and the other team decided to forget who they were. And it wasn't like the Bucks finding themselves was going to prevent the Suns from having ball movement on the offensive end.
No.
I think that was just youth and inexperience in the moment. And they'll learn. They'll be back eventually. That team, if they keep that young core together, will still be very good.
Don't forget they got an easy road. I would say the Bucks, relatively did a little bit, but the Suns didn't face anybody. They had the Lakers with half of LeBron and no Anthony Davis, and they had the Nuggets, no Jamal Murray.
And but they swept them though.
And then I don't even remember the other team.
Just no Jamal Murray, but the MVP of the league. Come on,
but it's not like
they smoked them.
It's not like Jokic is Kevin Durant. Let's not pretend like that.
No, but
and then
they
beyond
smoked
that,
them.
Who else did they play? Clippers without Kawhi. So they might have lost that series. Who the hell knows?
I think if Kawhi was playing, I don't think the Clippers would have even gotten that far.
And I was rooting for the Suns, not in the finals, but just to get there because I thought it would be exciting, and it turns out it was not exciting. And I think a lot of people agree.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about Giannis finding himself. He delivered every single game this series. And to stamp it in Game 6, all-time epic game. 50 points. He 17 of 18 from the free throw line. He shut up every single critic. For an entire year, nobody could say anything to him. For right now, everybody's got to shut up and take their licks from Giannis because he proved a lot of people wrong, including me. I didn't think he had that mentality in him, which is you can be a superstar by doing excellent things, by doing difficult things well. To become a champion, you have to accept doing the easy things over and over and over and over again, even if it's boring.
Yeah.
And to your point, Giannis's game, he is freakish. He does have the flash with the ability to leap and dunk and do unimaginable things. But he's such a force that teams are just going to prevent him, and he's going to be going to the line. But guess what? It may not be flashy, but that's efficient. If Giannis plays this way for the rest of his career, and he's young, he's already won, 2 MVPs, I think?
Yeah.
Or at least 1. He's been Defensive Player of the Year. He's steadily improved. Now he's got a championship. It looks like he's learned that what it really takes Could I try and dangle and do all this stuff and hit fadeaway shots? Sure. Or I could just go to the rim every time, and we're going to win every game. If
Well,
he
really
make
free throws and credit to him, he did.
And yes, and if he's going to be that guy, I think he has a shot at multiple titles. Do you disagree?
No, I mean he's like 26 years old and he's got one. So I think that goes without saying. It's just a matter of what can they put around him and sustain that. Because obviously he's a guy that, in his comments in the post game about the super teams and everything, and he could that, that's easy and I could do that. And, you want to root for a guy like that. But also he's going to have some tougher opponents in the future. I mean, you theoretically you would have Kyrie or Harden, one of the two, in those games in Brooklyn. And if, Durant's shoe is a little bit smaller, we can say everything we want. But in the finals, he made people shut up. And I think it goes without saying, if you have this group together, which theoretically they will for another few years, they'll be right in the conversation. Will they get past all those teams again? I don't know. Yeah. Atlanta was kind of meh, I mean, I think they were kind of lucky to be there. It was a weird year for the NBA in terms of tons of injuries coming out of the bubble. Yeah. A lot of teams are tired. But he definitely has it in him if he plays like that, for sure. Yeah, I think he has another level to get to.
Do you think there's some people saying because of what he's already accomplished at such a young age, got that the path now is set for him to possibly have like a GOAT type career? Get multiple rings. He's already got one under his belt this early on, that he's got a shot because of his physical ability alone. And if he embraces the mentality, he should be an unstoppable force that could do things that, the types of things we saw Kareem do. Can Giannis be that? Or is that almost impossible to expect out of anybody in this day and age?
I mean, are you talking like MJ, Magic, LeBron, Giannis, like in that conversation? Because
that's what people are saying he has set himself up to strive to, now that he already has one ring. Not that he could be, but that by getting this ring now, that he is now he's at the beginning of the Candyland thing. He's on a path now. If he had lost this, talking about keeping the team together, I think if they had lost this finals, I think it goes completely the other way. I think some of these guys are like, hey, we tried for a year, it's fun. Drew Holiday's like, I'm going to go get my money somewhere else. Maybe Giannis rethinks that long-term contract. He pulls a Dame Lillard and says, I want out of here, never mind, because he sees that it's going to blow up. All these guys decide to stay now that they won. It's a whole different history.
Mike Budenholzer owes Giannis part of his salary because I think he was gone for sure.
He could get canned at the beginning of next year anyways. Could be one of those. Yeah, they get like a month in, they're kind of having May. Yeah, it's like, all right, bye.
I wouldn't put that past him. I don't think he's that great of a coach, but
he's the only coach who could win a championship and still be on the hot seat.
Yeah, probably. But he's there, maybe. At least close. But in terms of the GOAT conversation, I guess he's on a trajectory, sure. I mean, I don't know what it like. I don't even know if to give that merit. It's 1 year. Let's see how he does here the next couple, and they'll be in the conversation. Will he win another 2 before he's 30? I don't know.
Yeah. Giannis, do you think is he the best player in the league right now? Like, hey, LeBron's starting to age out. We've been talking about who's going to be that guy to say I'm the alpha guy, and everybody's shooting for him now, and we know he's the alpha, but we're coming for him. The way people came after LeBron. We knew LeBron was the alpha of the NBA, and everybody was shooting for him. Granted, he was out there making super teams himself, but everybody was shooting after LeBron. Is Giannis that guy now, or is it going to be still it's grabs amongst some of these other superstars?
I mean, if you ask me, I say Kevin Durant still when he's healthy, but he's in the conversation, yeah. I mean, it's him, LeBron. He's in that upper echelon for sure, and especially with this title and the way he did it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Obviously, the opponent is what it is, but he still went out there and did something historic in Game 6 to close out a series, an NBA Finals, no less. So yeah, I mean, he's in that conversation. To me, it's still I still think it's Kevin Durant, Kawhi. Those guys are still just a leg up, not by much, but I still think. You ask me, the best player in the world right now is Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
I think on his healthiest day.
I think it's a good thing for the league that a guy like Giannis is one because of, like you said, the feel-good story. His whole trajectory of his career, staying in Milwaukee, small market, winning it without the like fabricated super team. It feels good, and I think it's good for the league. Now, people want to make a big hubbub about the ratings, and I hear everybody talking about reasons why. Oh, well, there's the political things people don't want to watch because basketball's embracing a political discussion. Which it's like, then fine, we don't need those people. I mean, there's also people who's like, just tune it out, just watch the game. If it doesn't, I mean, the fact, I think Felger has said this on 95. It's like, if you really turn off a game because you can't stand it, they want to like take a knee or like, then we don't need you. Like,
I think that's part of it, but that's a very small part of it.
So, but there's all these uses. Well, there was no big market teams. It's like, really, Cleveland is a big market. It's stars. You had stars. I think for some reason, nobody's bringing up the fact that Nielsen ratings do not even touch or encompass streaming data. I just feel like it's so antiquated to look at the Nielsen ratings when all that's telling you is a estimated amount of television set cable boxes, and then they calculate out, because they go and they put a device on the TVs of people, and then they say, well, we had 10,000 TVs hooked up, and we know there's X amount of people with televisions, so we'll just extrapolate out the data. How many people, Christian, do you have a cable box? No. Who are the people who have cable boxes? People 45 plus, right? The demographic that probably is upset by by woke culture, right? I feel like the Nielsen data is just so small. It's not even representative of TV viewership. So many people now watch League Pass, YouTube TV. Hulu has live sports. We're inundated with that commercial endlessly. So it's like, where are the viewers? They're there. And the fact that Nielsen doesn't want to embrace trying to get that data, the data's there. I'm sure all these companies have their analytics. The fact that they don't want to show that data or say, hey, we're not going to put it together, but look, 6 million people watched it on regular televisions, but 12 million watched on YouTube TV. And you're going to ignore that? It just makes no sense. And then the crazy thing is, ratings determine, unfortunately, a lot. People's jobs, maybe not hosts of things, but like a certain show or a segment might get canned and then some producer gets booted. Why? Because the old timers at Nielsen don't want to embrace that YouTube TV is a thing. It is
still a significant drop, though. I mean, regardless of Nielsen,
I guess, but it just bothers me that people make such a big deal. If they weren't making, if people weren't making a big deal out of the ratings, I wouldn't care. But people like freak out over the ratings, and it's like, well, they're also like not the whole story. Like, it just why you wouldn't want all the information, just especially in today's day and age. Analytics are everything, and we're just like turning a blind eye to like a whole half of the pie. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhat, but I still think there is something to be said about the ratings, just based on the significant drop in numbers. I mean, 2 years are, I guess.
You don't think cord cutting has anything to do with that?
Yeah, sure, but in 2 years, it's not going to drop 10. I don't think, like 10 million viewers. That's like ridiculous. And this series did like between 2 years ago and the bubble, like somewhere in the middle. So it's obviously, and I guarantee you, there would have been higher ratings if LeBron and Kyrie were in the finals or something like that. So there's still something to be said for those ratings because they still balance the viewership.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a good portion of people now that are going, the way of streaming. But there's such a significant drop off that it's at least there's something to be said there for the series that it was. I don't think it's not like living up to the, Warriors, Cavs, LeBron versus Steph and Durant. It's not going to hit those.
The only thing I'll give credence to is that it's July. And that if the finals were at their normal time, which was June, early June, maybe that has a big part to do with it, because how many people after you're working, then you go to the beach, and then you come home. Do you want to sit down for 3 hours at 9 o'clock at night, or are you already enjoying a party or going out somewhere or doing something else? Whereas in June, maybe it's not nice enough out yet, or kids are still in school. How much that the fact that it's just a month and a half later could really hurt it too. And we all thought it would dominate because baseball sucks. We thought the NBA would completely flourish, and it hasn't to that degree. We thought they would steal baseball's thunder, and it really hasn't.
Yeah, people are on vacation. People don't want to sit down and watch 3 hours of basketball. I mean, it's there might be a slight bump if there's different teams in it, but there probably will be. But I mean, overall, I thought it would do the NBA more good, and it did not. So I assume they will just go right back. Silver might already said they're going right back to the regular anyway. But,
they are, yeah.
It hurt them more than I thought it would, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and so your pro super team, are you going to be rooting Nets next year?
No, definitely not. I'm not really pro super team. I just like. If the West had something more, if it was the Clippers or something like that, I probably would have been more. But by game 2, even though the Suns were winning games 1 and 2, I didn't find myself really compelled with the Phoenix Suns. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it almomost felt like, gosh, this team is really going to win a championship. They're so young. They went from they can't win 20 games to they go 8-0 in the bubble last year, but don't make the cut, even though they won all of their games in the bubble. And now they're just going to have this historic regular season and win a championship out of nowhere because of Chris Paul. It did feel a little unearned. And I think that was kind of one of the good storylines, is that you had this almost meteoric rise of the Phoenix Suns out of nowhere, like a phoenix from the ashes. And meanwhile, you have Giannis literally slogging it out year after year, and expectations and losing and hearing doubters. And, it was more of the archetypal, the hero's journey type thing. So that's a little more compelling. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. NBA draft is Thursday. Obviously, we wanted to have Matt Murphy on to discuss, possibly do a live NBA draft show. It's his birthday that day. So I think it would be, where would you rather spend your birthday, Christian? Talking NBA draft for 4 hours, or, having a grand old time?
I wouldn't spend my birthday talking 10 seconds of NBA draft. So,
I'm not going to say talking to me. Yeah.
No. 10 seconds of NBA draft, I'm out.
All right.
Especially in this year where nobody knows anything. Everybody's guessing. So
that's true. There's no hype. There's really no hype for it. So we'll react to that next weekend. There is going to be trades. There's going to be a lot of deals going down, though. That is one thing that we'll prime you on right now. There's going to be a lot of things happening in and around the NBA draft. Some of it may happen just afterwards because teams will be able to roll over the clocks on certain deals and the numbers and all that financial fun stuff. One already went down today. The Pelicans get Giannis Valanciunas from the Memphis Grizzlies. They send out Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe to Memphis. So Pelicans making moves. They're one of those, they could be next year's Phoenix Suns, right? A lot of talent, young team, making some of these calculated moves. Nothing big and flashy, but adding just the right pieces. I think this was a great trade today for the Pelicans. I don't know how it'll play out for the Grizzlies long term, what they're trying to do now. They feel like they might be one of those stuck in the middle teams. But good for the Pelicans.
And the Grizzlies have been there, done that for a while, so I don't see that changing anytime soon. But yeah, it's a good move for the Pelicans overall. I'd say. Obviously you get rid of Bledsoe and that awful contract. God, he turned into he went from Phoenix to Milwaukee, right? No team before that, and he was a decent player. And he thought, okay, Milwaukee's got something here with Giannis and Middleton and Bledsoe. God, he's turned into a slug. He is just. He's got one of the worst contracts in the league, I think. $18 million per. Oof. Just over $18 million per. And then Steven Adams' contract.
What are his stats too? $18 million. God knows what he's
Yeah.
getting. I want to see his stats. Come on, stats. Like, what is he averaging? Like, you're paying him probably God knows what.
12 points,
You know, like
maybe.
like $100-something thousand per game for him to average. Let's see. Yeah, 12.2
Yeah, 12
points.
And he doesn't play defense anymore.
Which is actually below his career average of 14. Man, the money is stupid for some of these guys. 14 points.
crazy.
In a day and age where scoring 30 is supposed to be like bare minimum what you're expected to do if you're a scoring like player, and he averages 14 in his career and averaged 12 last year. Yuck, 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 yuck. Yeah, terrible contract. So
17.5 he gets per year. Just awful. So obviously that's a good move for them. They clear some of that out. And also Steven Adams' contract.
I think I could draw 7 fouls in a game and make all my free throws and average 14 points.
And Steven Adams, I didn't realize.
And you could pay me to do that way less. I'll take $100K a year to do that.
Yeah, and Steven, so 2 contracts are off those books, which is huge. Because Steven Adams, I didn't realize he made $25 a year. So
A lot.
That's not worth it at all either. So, yeah, good move for them, I would say. Clear some salary. You get a good shooting center back. He's a solid player, Valanciunas. He's nothing like, he's not going to carry you to the title, but he's a respectable player in the NBA. So it's a good move for them. The Grizzlies, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't even know where to comment on.
Now, New Orleans is going to be now they have some cap space to use. I think their mid-level exception. They could be that team that just like plays together and has a how are the Pelicans the 2 seed in the West? Like that could be where they're headed next year. So it'll be interesting to see. 2 other names that everybody's talking about. We'll get to Bradley Beal is one because we have options for that. The other who I've talked about, we've had some of this discussion before, is Damian Lillard. Officially said he wants out. I reacted to this last week. I don't like this. If these, it seems to me these guys, if after 1 year you decide you want out on a 5-year deal, you were probably this close already. So if you wanted your money, just take a 2-year deal. For all the grief we give LeBron, at least when he is kind of on the fence, he does these 1-and-1 deals, right? And they give it to him because both sides are negotiating in good faith. You take a 5-year deal, that team has to expect that you're going to be there for at least 4, of those years. Now everybody signs a 5-year deal. The first thing people are talking about is, well, what if he leaves after next year? It's like he just signed a deal. But that's what's happening now. I don't like it. Portland is ready to blow it up, so they're going to be fine because they're going to get a haul from whoever they trade him to. But God, this is really annoying that these guys sign if he signed a 2-year deal, then it would seem like, hey, they knew, he knew, blah, 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 blah. 5-year deal, and these guys, James Harden's done it. Now Damian Lillard's done it. Who's the next guy who's gonna do it?
I say this all the time, though. Welcome to the NBA.
But where does it stop? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It doesn't. Strap your seat to your seat because you're not going anywhere. That's just the league, and I don't think it's going to improve at all.
If I was these teams, I would stop giving. This happened in MLB for a while, for a couple years. Teams were stopped. No more 12-year contract because you're not getting the life of that contract or that money.
Yeah.
Right. So teams started to kind of get smart. The JD. Martinez, when he was first coming to the Red Sox, he was holding out for a 10-year deal. Only got 4, bub. It started to kind of come around. I think there's going to be a point here where NBA teams just, I don't even care about the yearly average. $40 million is ridiculous. But if you're only paying him that for 2 years and, he might want out, sign 2 years. It's the years that these guys ask for and then don't even care to commit towards. Do you want Damian Lillard on the Boston Celtics, or where is he going to wind up?
I would take Damian Lillard on the Celtics depending on Bradley Beal's availability. It's Beal 1, Lillard 2, and the price obviously I guess is what it is. Do you give up Jaylen Brown? That's the biggest question. We all know that. Where do I think he'll end up? I have no freaking clue. So the Lakers are a possibility, I guess. But they might be in the market for another team that's blown it up in the Wizards that we just mentioned, Beal, but Russell Westbrook's another one. So I don't know. It's going to be silly season pretty soon in the NBA, I think, because a few teams, McCollum, who knows about him? I don't know what the hell all these teams are doing, but there could be a lot of guys moving here in short order.
Yeah, especially with the uncertainty of this draft, you could see teams just rather
swapping picks all over
the place to get players and other things. I've said this. I don't want Damian Lillard, and honestly, we know what the price is. The price isn't going to be cheap. You already get rid of Kemba, so the idea of swapping them is already gone. I don't want to trade Al Horford in something to get Damian Lillard because I just don't.
Good players.
No, I don't want an older, overpaid point guard who has had some nagging injury stuff. I don't need to have. We make this big trade. Woohoo! We swung the big deal. We got a 31-year-old point guard, and he blows out his knee on week 1. And then you really porked yourself because yes, then Jason Tatum is out the door after next year. I don't mind going after Bradley Beal. I just don't want a shoot first point guard because this team, just with Jalen and Jason, doesn't need another guy to take the ball out of their hands. Now, if you have a facilitator to spread the ball around to Brown and Tatum, and I would like Bradley Beal, I would do that. I ain't giving up Brown and Tatum. No way, no how. I want those two. For anybody. I want those two together. Well, maybe Anthony Davis. I don't know.
No, realistically.
No.
I don't know. I'd think
there's
about it.
There's nobody right now who's realistically available or even close to available that I'm giving up Jaylen Brown for.
I would think about it.
For who? How many people? What's your list? How many people do we have to go through before you're like, no, I'm not trading Jaylen Brown for that guy? Because his contract's big enough, you could pretty much just do Jaylen Brown and some picks and whatever poo-poo platter of extra players to make it close. Name the players that you would want to trade Jaylen Brown for. You already got Lillard,
Kevin Durant,
then Beal.
No, Lillard. No Lillard.
All right, so you're out. Okay.
Are you talking about realistic trades?
Realistic trades.
Yes. No, I'm not trading Jaylen Brown for Lillard. No, okay. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
For Beal, I do think about it because I think Beal and Tatum together. Number one, that appeases Tatum. I think everybody knows that. He might be. It might be a catch-22, right? You get rid of somebody to bring somebody in, but overall, I think those two want to play together one way or another. Okay. And I also think I like Jaylen Brown, and I think he's on the rise still, which is crazy because he keeps getting better. But if you were asking me, okay, the Celtics need another third piece. To me, in my opinion, Jason Tatum and Bradley Beal have more of a draw than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So that's another reason why in a couple years down the road, maybe you need a third piece. What that looks like, I have no idea. I'm not even going to get into it. But those two, I feel like, are more of a draw than Jaylen Brown and Tatum. And also, I think Bradley Beal is a little bit more mature. He's a little bit older. And he's kind of like a Jaylen Brown type where they're both scorers first, right? Predominantly. And I just think Beal is a guy that has a little bit of edge to him, which I think this team needs. Not Marcus Smart edge, someone that's like an all-star edge.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we'll see. The options. So we did get in touch. I know, Christian, you can tune out because I know you get the popsicle headache when you hear all of these things.
I'll say this too, real quick. I would rather keep Jaylen Brown and get Beal on this team. That's where I'll start.
And we're in lockstep with that. I would give up everything but Tatum and Brown to get Beal here. And I know you'd say, and a lot of people would say, well, where's your depth? Those three, if you have those three together, your depth will figure itself out, right? It always does. Yeah. People always say that about, people said that in 2008. Oh, why'd we trade all these players and Al Jefferson for Kevin Garnett? We've decimated this team for what? 3 old guys? What are we going to do? How are we going to fill out the team? Guess what? Guys like James Posey are going to take a pay cut. Eddie House is going to play for the veteran minimum. You're going to fill out your roster with guys who are totally on the cheap. If you had Beal, Brown, and Tatum, trust me, this guy's going to be taking nothing to come play here. So I wouldn't be worried about that.
Don't worry about that one. And also in the comments, Nick, I agree with Nick. Knicks are another good one. So between, I don't know, one of the two, Lakers, Knicks, take your pick for
Knicks
Dame.
like
I
Knicks.
think, yeah, and I don't know why you would ever go to the Knicks if you're Dame Lillard, but you know what, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just ask Derrick Rose if you just want to be run into the ground by
Yeah, that's
by
a good place to
coach.
go. Yeah.
Go to Tibbs. Talk about he'd be injured in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
I have to play 48
Oh, no.
minutes a night? It's a regular season game. So Matt Murphy gave us our NBA draft and cap insider. And I won't read this word for word because I don't want to put Christian to sleep. It is a Monday night after all. But here's the top 3 realistic options for Bradley Beal to the Boston Celtics. So if you're a Bradley Beal to the Boston Celtics person, you're a big fan, you want to see it happen, here are your 3 options. Jaylen Brown and somebody. Probably your Rob Williams. His value's high right now. We've talked about him possibly being moved. And
AKA
probably
Wilt.
and
Wilt Chamberlain.
and a small assortment of some picks. Jaylen Brown has tremendous value. You wouldn't have to throw in the 8 first-round picks and all that. But he said that President Brad would probably tell the Wizards to go pound sand because everybody thinks that they want to keep Jaylen Brown here. So that option, let's just logically take Jaylen Brown off the table. Fans, we can discuss it back and forth whether or not you should. I think logically he's off the table. Option number 2, the Marcus Smart and Tristan Thompson poo-poo platter. Would have to include around $4 million in additional salary, so 2 young guys, maybe Neesmith and Grant Williams, or Pritchard and Romeo, up to whoever the Wizards want. Picks would be included, but probably not the full 4 future firsts, with pick swaps in between over the course of 7 years. So you give up 7 years of picks. Every other year you swap, and first-round picks in between. So so Marcus Smart, somebody like Tristan Thompson, just to make the numbers, and then assorted goodies, right? Option 3, Al Horford. The sexy eyes walking, talking trade exception. Basically, Al and Carson Edwards get it done financially. We'd be sending them the full stream of 7 years of picks, though. And then he says we'd have to check some numbers about Al's salary because he has some things where his salary alters after a year and is guaranteed, all this other stuff. But he talked about how it's a trade that could be done with Al Horford after the draft because you would be on the next year's calendar and certain types of rollovers and all that sort of stuff. Basically, he kind of sums it up. All of this is assuming Beal waives the entirety of his trade kicker, which is 15%. He's free to waive a portion of it, but then Boston would have to add more salary to match. And then he said, fun CBA nuance. Wizards are on the hook to pay the actual bonus, but the added amount goes on the Celtics cap sheet. There's 4 years sign-and-trade scenarios as well, where we could leverage his high salary from last season and his bird rights, but so many moving parts that it doesn't seem realistic. Regardless of the outcome, it would be a lot to give up for one guy sitting pretty with 1 year remaining. That player option is kind of a joke, and everyone knows it. And then Matt's kind of take on the whole thing would be weird to trade Smart after Udoka made such a big deal about him and his defense. Same for Jaylen. President Brad, basically loving Al Horford coming back and then trading him to mortgage the future. It doesn't seem like a Brad move. And he says, sign Javante to a minimum contract. Tell Tatum to shut up about playing with a superstar friend and just actually become one. Move Smart to point guard. Bring back Fournier. Develop the young guys. Use one of your TPEs or Thompson to add more depth. Hit singles, not home runs.
That sounds like a Celtics fan if I've ever heard one. Jesus Christ. Oh, my God.
I'm fine.
Don't go after a good player. We want to take the bag of crap that we have and the bag of balls in the back, put them on the court, and hit a single.
Well, I think we all expect Brad Stevens to not want to keep. Tremont Waters has officially requested a trade. Okay, he wants a larger role. Be larger. Maybe you'll have a role.
Good for you.
Just kidding. I love Trey. I love my small guys. The problem is I like having one small guy in a team. You have
Not 45.
4. It's kind of hard.
Also, just one more thing to note, right? So about this whole thing, Bradley Beal can also help this scenario along and drive down his price a crap load.
Oh, by saying I only want to go to Boston.
Yeah, pull an Anthony Davis and say, I'm not signing with anybody. If you trade for me, I'm going to go to Boston to play with Tatum. So hopefully he does that. I don't see it happening, but, we're going to wish it or I will personally try to wish it into existence. I know a lot of people don't like good players, but this is how you win in the NBA, so you got to get used to it. Hit home runs, not singles. That's what I'm saying. At least give me like a double or a triple.
Well, I'm saying I'm looking. I think Brad's gonna hit some doubles. I think we're gonna see consolidate. I hope. Everything he said, people talked immediately about him being president. There's a lot of things people said, like you heard some of the things fall through the woodwork about things him and Danny maybe butt heads on. I think Brad wanted veteran role players, not the Red Claws as his bench.
Player personnel. I mean, that's just number one that they butt heads on. No question.
I think we should. I don't think we're going to see a whole team made up of first and second round draft picks, and our average age is 20. I think we're going to see a lot of some of these guys. Anybody that was all these guys. If you're a first or second round pick from the last 3 years, watch out. You're probably getting cut or traded in a giant poo-poo platter, to bring back just like a scoring big man, right? Some mid-level guy. I like what you say about, Beal driving down the price, because he says he just wants to play for Tatum. Do you think it helps or hurts? And this is how we'll transition. If you have any other NBA thoughts or questions, drop them in the comment section, and we'll circle back. Or email the360sportshow@gmail.com if you're one of our podcast listeners. Do you think it helps or hurts that Beal isn't at the Olympics now and him and Tatum don't actually get to play together?
I don't think it really affects it one way or another. I think it would have been more beneficial to have him there, obviously. But him not being there, I still think the two want to get together in some capacity. And if you really want to just I heard something earlier today, a caller into a radio here, say that let's flip the script, right? Let's trade Tatum to the Wizards to play with Beal and get Hachimura back and another big guy and another player and then maybe a draft pick. And that was when
maybe Danny would do that.
Yeah, I threw my phone out the window at that point. But you want to get Beal here in some capacity. I don't think the Olympics affects it that much. I think overall these two want to play together. I think that's pretty clear. Whether or not they had a Kyrie Irving Durant conversation, I don't know. They were in Vegas for a few nights, so maybe.
Hey, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We'll never know.
But overall, no, I don't think it. I think it would have been more beneficial. I don't think it hurts it though.
Yeah. In that scenario where you trade Tatum to the Wizards, you then sign Semi Ojeleye to a max contract.
Exactly. Evan Fournier is your next guy. You get Bertans back. Just get a bunch of guys that don't play defense and can shoot, and you're good.
No, not Bertans. You get Bertans from the Wizards.
Yeah.
I thought you meant signing Moritz Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner.
Man. So on the Olympics, and we'll get narrow and we'll widen out here. Team USA men's basketball. I said last week I was going to reserve judgment on them until they got there and the lights come on, because you know what? The bubble, short off season, long season, grueling, injuries, COVID protocols, blah, 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 all this stuff. Are these guys 100% focused? I said probably not. And even though Greg Popovich is there, and I think he's probably one of the greatest coaches of all time, he's probably not all that into it either. 100%. You telling me Popovich is 100% like he might be on any other year? Probably not. He was probably being a little more lax.
Yeah.
And so you lose some exhibition games. You don't look entirely sharp. I was expecting that. But that's over. That's done. They are on their way towards not only 2004 was an embarrassment, they still won bronze, if I'm not mistaken. They're on their way towards not even being in the medal conversation, I think. Just off of how it looks. I mean, they went the last 5 minutes of the game without a field goal.
It was 16-4 run.
And they had a lead too in that game. They let speaking of Evan Fournier, just hitting the bottom of the net from everywhere.
And
I don't know.
Good old Gershon Yabusele making a diving save.
Yeah, they called him Yabusele.
Yabusele. The Dancing Bear, or whatever his name is.
Yes, the Dancing Bear. I don't think the great draft and stash selections of 2016. You had Gershon, Abdul Nader, who made a finals appearance with the Suns. And then who else? Oh, what was his name? The tall guy that we traded to the Cavs.
Zizic.
That was supposed to be like these three guys were hiding them, but in a couple of years they'll come through. None of them. Nader probably is the best out of all of them.
Good job on those, and then Giannis slipped through the cracks, and you picked up Kelly Olynyk. So good job.
Yes. So he's making plays. They just don't seem to have the heart. They just don't seem to have the heart for it. I just think these guys. This is why I thought the NBA shouldn't have tried to like rush through the regular season and then rush through the playoffs, then spread the finals out for 3 weeks, just to get to the Olympics on time. Because I just think these guys are burnt out, and some people want to say they have no pride for their country. I don't think it's that. I don't think this is some sort of like, well, they hate America, so they're just there to play basketball, and they don't really care about representing their country. I really don't want to go there because I just think that's not fair. That's like low-hanging fruit. That's cheap, and none of these guys are talking like that, right? So unless some of them was saying like, "Oh, I really don't want to be here," and blah blah blah, blah, and I'm only here because they made it. I just think they should have said, the season's going how long the season's going to go. The guys that want to be there will want to be there.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them other than just saying it. When you can't point to one thing, it's probably a little bit of everything, which means that they're not a good team. Because it's not a team. It's just a collection of talent that got thrown together. And in this particular year, that collection of talent isn't good. And plus, the international scene has gotten better. I mean, some of the best stars in the league aren't on the American team.
Yeah.
Like Luka, who dropped 40 points?
I don't know if Giannis is not playing, but he's another one. A lot of these guys now are coming from different parts of the country. I mean, it's just or different parts of the world, not just the USA. It's not like LeBron James again. It's Luka's not from here. Giannis is not from here. These guys are the upper echelon of the league, and they're not on this team. Yeah, and people wanted to pull apart what Dame Lillard said, which is these guys play differently in the Olympics than they do in the NBA. And people wanted to extrapolate that out into like, well, see, it's because they care about their country and you don't. No, it's because some of these guys don't play in the NBA or they're role players, and so they don't have a taste of like actual. To them, think about how people don't care about MLS in the United States, but soccer worldwide is a huge thing, right? The World Cup is massive. It's like the same thing for some of these guys. I mean, this is what they play for. They play on their international team to play in FIBA tournaments and then make the Olympics and win a gold medal. To them, that's the pinnacle because they're never going to do it in the NBA. And I just don't think. I don't think it's that they don't care about representing America. I think it's just a lot of these guys are just burnt out. Yeah, and I think it's gonna end bad. Probably
bad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bet against that.
When's their next game? The United States. This should be way easier to find. Why they don't make it easier to find these events? Day 2. Day 5. United States versus Iran on Wednesday at 12:40 a.m. Staying up for that, Christian?
Hell no.
Well, wait a minute. That has to be local. That has to be 12:40 a.m. our time. There's no way they're playing at 12:40 a.m.
No. 12. Yeah, Eastern time. Yep.
Yeah. Just making sure. So, yeah, we'll see if is there anybody on Iran's team that we recognize? I don't think so. No familiar names. I think this is part of the problem. I think right now people are going to talk about the ratings, man. Back to ratings of this Olympics. I think part of it is the fact that they're still calling it the 2020 Olympics, which is weird to look at. And that because it's in Japan, the time difference, nobody's going to stay up here at 12:40 in America to watch some of these events. And then you get an alert on your phone what happened as soon as you wake up. So why are you going to watch the rerun? Why are you going to watch it when it actually airs, again, at a normal time in prime time for you and I to watch? You know, if phones didn't exist, just the cell phone, not even the internet, because you could avoid things on the internet. But your cell phone, ping, it's going to pop up and say, this team lost. You're going to turn on the radio, and they're going to be talking about it. So maybe not. Actually, maybe there is no way to avoid it. I just think the massive time difference, I think, really hurts the viewership of some of these things. Because I know I haven't been watching. Usually I'm a fiend for the Olympics, and I'll sit there and watch it all day. I think because it's finally some nice weather out now, and, the events and things that I want to see are playing at the middle of the night. I had fun today watching some team handball, but, I mean, that's not going to hold my attention for the whole day, let alone out just a few hours.
Yeah, I'll catch some of it, but again, I mean, it's like, it's nice out. There's no crowd. It's kind of like half the people think it shouldn't be going on. Other people think it should be. It's just kind of a weird, again, it's another weird year. And it is what it is. I mean, some of it I'm interested in. Simone Biles is obviously a name. Some of the swimmers, Ledecky. So I've caught some of that stuff, but overall, I'm not like glued to my TV as normal. So, some of the basketball I caught, but then again, I guess I didn't miss much at the end. So it's definitely a different type of Olympics than I am accustomed to, just based on my own viewership. I'll sit there and watch a bunch of things in a row. This year, I'm not really doing that. I'm catching, different things at different times.
Yeah. So it's only going to be worse at the next one. I think China's the one, Beijing again for Winter Olympics. They're calling the genocide games. That ain't going to be good.
Yeah.
That's going to have
not a good start.
Not a good, already off to a bad start when that's your nickname for your Olympiad. So we'll keep up with the Olympic stuff. NFL news. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's gonna play, but he is renegotiating his contract. He's probably gonna get a big frickin' honk of change this year, and then he's gonna have an out. He'll get to leave next year, so he's pulling a Tom Brady. Now Brady was actively trying to restructure his deal, and they settled on the 3-year deal with void years and all that shenanigans. Aaron Rodgers has a contract that pays him well. He just wants out. And the game of chicken, it seems like it's ended, because he could have just retired or, show up and played, and they didn't want to alter it. So it seems like they're kind of meeting in the middle here, but he's gone. There's nothing that could happen in Green Bay that will keep him there, because I don't think they're winning a championship. So he's gone. So if I'm Green Bay, how much do you even invest? I mean, I guess if you invest only in short-term things without really hamstringing yourself long-term, maybe you could put a team to win a championship this year. But I don't know. I would have just traded him. I know they didn't want to on principle, because maybe you weren't going to get enough back in return. But now you're going to get nothing. You can't franchise him. He's going to be a free agent, and he's going to walk. I don't know. I feel like you let him win. You were trying to hold his feet to the fire, and now he's going to get what he wants. He's going to have a lame duck year. He'll just kind of dick around out there, just, dink and dunk all over the place, and, do his Aaron Rodgers thing. Throw 30 touchdowns, 16 picks, get to a conference championship game, and poop his pants.
Yep. And you're going to get nothing for him. I think the Packers, I didn't even want to talk about this today, because I just after all this, now he's just going to come back and play, and he's out next year. So I think the Packers are morons in this situation. You had an opportunity to maximize this guy's value and get multiple first-round picks, maybe a player, something else for him. And instead, you're going to cater to him, give him this contract like Brady did, kind of that similar dead years at the end of it, and then he's out after this year. And he's going to walk away scot-free, nothing to see here. He doesn't even really have to do much this year. Does he want to win it that badly? Don't think so. I think he wants out. So I think the Packers misplayed this right from the beginning, and now here you are. You're in this situation for a reason.
Yeah. So no bueno. No bueno. Mishandled.
After all the crap that Rodgers has pulled, here he comes strolling back to Green Bay.
I would have forced him to retire. I would have said, "We're not trading you. But
Yep.
we'll eat your money happily. Sorry. So NFL's going the way of the NBA, like you said. It happens in the NBA all the time. Deshaun Watson is going to report to camp because he doesn't want to get fined.
Still wants to trade.
Still wants to trade. How do you approach training camp? Do you just give him no reps? Hey, you showed up, but do we give you reps? You don't want to be here, so should we run you with the first team? How does that even work? I don't know.
I don't know anymore. Everybody's picking where they want to go, so I don't even know why we draft players anymore. Let's just let them pick. We'll let every player go to one team, and then that's it.
The Kyrie approach?
Yeah.
Anarchy.
Yeah.
Like in Game of Zones. They'll form their own league. Other thing that came out this week is the NFL announced new COVID protocols. NFL did what they had to do last year. Testing, protocols. Hey, a team's got an outbreak. Let's move this game. Let's shuffle. They didn't have to forfeit games. Maybe some teams effectively did because they played on a Wednesday with half their team. You might as well have just forfeited. But they got through. And in the midst, without a vaccine available, they found a way. They made the entire season, and then they got to the playoffs, and they had a Super Bowl. And there was never an instance of, well, Pat Mahomes was positive. He couldn't play. How are you going to have a championship decided? None of that ever came into play. NFL's not messing around this year, though. They're like, we have a vaccine. We can make sure that this is not a problem. You all got to go get it. And if you don't, we're going to make life really hard for you because you can't go anywhere outside the facility. You can barely do things inside the facility. You can't meet with this player. You can't do this. You're going to get tested again every single day. And guess what, teams? You have an outbreak, you forfeit.
And you lose money.
So I think it's a good thing. I think the rest of society should have this sort of account. Once again, how strange is it? The NFL is kind of leading the way here with something where it's wouldn't it be great if the rest of society was functioning like this? Instead of saying, let's do things to keep accommodating the people who don't want to do the simple and easy things to make life better for the rest of us. How about just let the rest of these people live with the consequences? Right? If you're unvaccinated in the NFL and you get hey, fine, you choose, that's your right. You choose you don't want to put the vaccine in your body. But here are the rules for what's going to happen if you don't. We're not just going to keep bending, when there's something that can literally prevent this and can have our season be much more normal than it was last year. It baffles me. And it baffles me when guys say, well, I don't know what's in there. I don't want to put it in my body. NFL players, really? How many things that you don't know? Tell me you know the chemical composition of that supplement, sir. You're fine putting that in your body, but no. A vaccine for a deadly disease.
I wonder if any of these guys have ever had McDonald's. Do you know what's in that?
Oh, God. Right.
So that I agree. That argument, that I don't agree with. I don't know what's in it. Do you know what's in anything that you put in your body? The amount of stuff that you probably do for pain or whatever you need to do, I doubt it. So if you have another reason, by all means, whatever. It's your choice not to get it. That's perfectly fine. If you don't, though, you have to follow the certain rules, and that's that. I mean, they put it out there for a reason. And NFL, once again, yeah, like you said, kind of leading the charge on, I assume, how other leagues will approach it.
So this made me think of this meme I had seen earlier this year. So this person said, this is a standard vaccine composition. Which of these chemicals do you object to having in your body? And I'll just list a few, right? I won't do the whole thing. He's like, ethanol, propyl acetate, N-butyl acetate, N-butanol, 3-methyl-butenyl acetate. It lists out all these things. And people are like, all of them. Is this true? Gosh, I can't believe this, blah, 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 blah. And then so the guy lets it, the comment section built all this, this is insane. I don't want any of this in my body, blah, 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 blah. And then he says, by the way, I just gave you the chemical composition of an apple.
Yeah. Nice.
Which is living testimony to the fact that anti-vaxxers aren't qualified to know what they are scared of. NFL players, the things you put in your bodies for all the other things, pain-killing supplements, actual steroids, you're worried about the vaccine? Then you better be clean. In
And if
every
you have another reason, fine, like you said. But also, you're just gonna have to follow the rules that are set
yeah,
if you're unvaccinated.
you're free to do your own thing, and you're free to live with the consequences. So it's crazy. I think this is good. I think this is great. Now, I mean, as a Patriots fan, we have no idea. I mean, Matthew Judon already said he was kind of against this. And I'm surprised that I wasn't sure what the players' union's reaction was going to be to this, but it seems like they're very much on board, which, again, I think that probably has something to do with the money part of this. And the players who are against it are kind of seeming more and more on the island. But we don't know. I mean, it's not public knowledge, so unless somebody does a PSA where they've got themselves getting the shot, amongst star players, I mean, as far as I know, Brady hasn't come out as pro-vaccine, right?
No, but as far as I understand it, so this is kind of, you have the 90 whatever percent over that threshold for NFL teams. And I think if I heard this correctly, I believe Albert Breer said this, that the Chiefs are one of those teams that have over 94% vaccinated rate or whatever, because as soon as Mahomes got it, a bunch of people fell in line and were like, okay, we're just going to go get the thing. You don't have exact names on it, but if Mahomes gets it, okay, the team got it. If, Matt Ryan did the same thing in Atlanta, he started everything. He, no question, he just went in, got it, and a bunch of people followed suit. So you have teams that are going to do that. And then Sean McDermott's going to have his hands full because his players are fighting and bitching on Twitter, because, we're in 2021, and this is what people do now. So that's going to be funny. But I mean, overall, I'd say you're going to have some teams that are like right there. And I believe the Patriots are in the upper part of the league in terms of rate. So that's a positive. And you're going to have guys that don't want to get it, which is fine, but they're just going to have to live with the different set of rules. And that's that. I mean, it is what it is. It's not going away. So they got to do something.
Yeah. We'll see. Training camp's open soon. I mean, this week, correct?
Yes, this week.
Everybody opens up. Are we having a Hall of Fame game? I know we didn't have one last year. There's no preseason, actually. Let's see. Thursday, August 5th. So, week and a half away.
Yeah, next
from
week, yeah.
NFL action.
It's kind of nice.
It is kind of nice. It is kind of nice. We'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see how all these things play out. These quarterbacks who are trying to fight their way out, reporting to camp to do what? Sip coffee?
Yeah. Get coffee for the rest of the guys.
Yeah. And obviously we'll keep a track on all the things, as there's sure to be injuries and storylines, and a lot of this rookie class of quarterbacks. We talked about the expectations, and can we see all of them playing this year, and could this be one of the best quarterback draft classes ever, especially considering where the expectations and where they all got drafted. So they'll be worth keeping their eye on. Also from the past week, we had NHL, the expansion draft. So the Kraken got to pilfer what they wanted from the available players. Christian, what is your reaction to the NHL expansion draft, and now where the Seattle Kraken stand?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. They had a complete different approach than Vegas did. Vegas said, give us the best players and we will take them and their money on our salary cap. The Kraken were like, we'll take a bunch of players, and if they're good, they're good. If they're not, they're cheap. So, yeah, that's where I'll start. I hope they're okay, because they're already off to a weird start, in my opinion. I think they're going to be like not so great unless they get lucky, I guess. Didn't take Carey Price, didn't take a lot of guys they passed on. Now, they got some good players from like Tampa's of the world, and, there's a lot of good players still out there on teams like that. And then from the Boston Bruins, they took Lozon. So not too happy about that, but also like, man, over the last week, Lozon has gone from like, your third line pairing, maybe a second line, young defenseman, to like Duncan Keith Stanley Cup winner all of a sudden.
Yes.
So the overrating of Lozon has gone through the roof. I like the player, and he's the best of the lot that you had. But in order to protect him, you would have had to given up rights to Craig Smith, DeBrusque, and those guys, and 4 forwards for a defenseman is a whole thing. But regardless, Lausanne is the best player available. They have Jay Leach over in the Kraken system there as a coach, so he already knows the guy. And I think it was a no-brainer for them to take him over Clifton or someone like that. So unfortunately, the Bruins have no defenseman as is, and now they lose another one. They got to go out and improve the defense core of this team. I don't even know where to start. Suter's going to get like 4 years. That's pretty much off the table now. So they got to find a direction here to get some size and get a defenseman, especially on the left side, that can play. But they have a bunch of young guys. We just don't know if they can play yet.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, like, weren't we basically trying to run Lausanne out of town anyways after the Islanders series? Yeah.
A lot of people were. And then all of a sudden he became like, Drew Doughty with a left-handed stick. So, I don't know how those things work. How your mind goes from one, once you lose a guy, then it becomes like he's the best player ever. I think he's a good young prospect, and I would rather have him on the team.
Yeah.
But the alternative is you have to, give up Frederick 4 forwards. I mean, that's just like, it's a whole thing. I don't even.
Yeah.
I can't go through it all.
The Bruins lose Lausanne, but they retained Taylor Hall, which I think is a huge deal, especially considering what the price tag is and kind of that setting the stage for, hey, Krejci, this is now where we want to put you if you want to come back, take it or leave it, and all these other sorts of things falling in line for the Bruins. Huge win. You talk about the lack of the D-depth, but getting Hall back here when you knew he said he wanted to and they made it work, big.
They're extremely lucky because they don't have a lot of talent coming up through the system in terms of, this past draft, we don't know. NHL guys take forever to get into the NHL itself. But Hall is a huge one. I mean, you get him at $6 million for 4 years. He obviously wants to be here. And to get a guy with that much talent to want to be in a place like Boston and play with this group of guys for a set period of time and not go to market is very, very fortunate. I would say, Don Sweeney's pretty good at these contracts anyway, but getting Hall at 4 and 6, the guy wanted to be here. I guarantee you could have gotten like 7.5 on open market. Like $35 million over 5 years total. But now you have Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron, and Hall for about $24-25 million. And you're going to need some money going next year for McAvoy. McAvoy's going to be in the range of like 9 to 10. So it's a good move to set that up for next year. A couple of defensemen just got signed, and that's really the next big signing for the Bruins because I think he's one of the most important guys, if not the single most important guy in the organization right now. But they got to get help still on defense. But Hall just alone is just a huge, huge asset to have and retain. Because now you have a standard kind of 1-2 punch there, Marchand, Hall. Those two are going to be there for another 3 years. Just a matter of Krejci. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. He hasn't made up his mind. I don't know if the Bruins are trying to push him out like Chara. I heard that, and I kind of piqued my interest just based on he's been here, 16 years? I mean, it's freaking ridiculous. And at some point, something's got to give. He could go play overseas. He could play here, whatever. But if he wants a bunch of money, see you later. I mean, get a young guy in the 3rd slot if you can, or sign somebody and put Coyle with Hall. I don't know, but
yeah,
that's really the next shoe to drop for the Bruins is David Krejci.
Well, there's also, the goalie situation, which is that Tuukka Rask has still not had his surgery and probably won't for another month. We expected, usually this, hey, you take a month. There's things you want swelling to go down, this, that, the other thing. You don't rush to certain surgeries. But he's really taking his time.
Eager to get back out on the ice.
I don't know if he doesn't even know if he wants to play, so he's taking it even slower. But now, if you look at the timetable, it's like, okay, you have the surgery, the expected recovery time, the rehab, get some stints on the ice, and now you're available to us mid-March now?
Yeah.
At what point, for what? At what cost? I would take, originally we said, hey, let's start the young kid. Let's start Swayman. You have a veteran backup. Tuukka, we'll sign you. And when you're ready in January, you could come in and split time. And the best goalie will be our guy. But hey, you're right there. Swayman has a bad game in the playoffs. Maybe we go to you. We see that happen all the time. The young guy takes over, he's hot for a little bit, and then, eventually he loses steam and the guy with the experience comes back in. Now it's seeming more like he doesn't even know if he wants to play. He probably won't sign a contract, and maybe he'll get the surgery, and maybe they'll talk in sometime in February, and he's like, yeah, I do want to play. But at that point, I'd like, do you want a goalie? It'd be one thing if it was like an extra attack, an extra forward, or an extra defenseman who it's Yarmer Yager. You're trying to coax him out of retirement. Come on, come back for one more run. We could use you on the back end. Not your goalie. Your goalie is supposed to be like the anchor. And if you've had a team playing with one guy or two guys the whole year, or if it's Swayman's team at that point, I don't want to just be like, oh, Tuukka, guess what? Sorry, Tuukka says he wants to come back, so we're just going to turn the team back over to him.
Yeah. How many times are you going to run it back with this guy? This is what my one gripe with the Bruins right now is they have too many guys with maybe a little bit too much say in the organization. Like Krejci and Tuukka, give me Krejci back on a short-term deal for less money, and I'm fine. Rask is a guy that, like, at this point, just cut bait. Grab a veteran. You have Vladar, you have Swayman. Grab a veteran and put the guy in there and see what happens. It's just like enough. I'm not an anti-masker. I'm not an anti-rasker, but enough is enough. Like
an anti-rasker.
Like I don't understand with the Tuukka. Like they don't want to cut bait. I don't know if it's a player saying that. I don't know if it's the organization, but at some point you just got to move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Or move on.
I'm with you. If Tuukka, like, right after the year was like, I don't want to retire, I want to come back, I want to rehab, this isn't over yet, we have unfinished business, and he's like all in, then fine. But if it's looking like he just wants to play this, I'll see how I feel, and maybe sign a contract at some point later on, which at least it won't be for a lot of money. It'll be a 1-year deal for leftovers at that point. But I'm with you. It's like, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. And move on. Lastly, MLB Trade Deadline. Christian, excited or just passively watching?
I'm actually engaged in baseball this year. I'm shocked at myself as much as anybody. But the Red Sox team is actually really compelling. I will say this. I'll be pissed if they don't add to this team, though.
They're showing that it thing. We talked about, got to get past the midpoint. They keep showing that, crud, they just finding ways to win.
Yeah.
Now they found some ways to lose to the Yankees, which bugs me. But I'm with you. You should be adding to this team this year. And you don't have to gut the team.
No, you don't have to give up a lot or anything. A guy like Eric Hosmer is going to cost you nothing. You don't have to give up prospects. Hell, San Diego might give you a prospect back for Hosmer. So you can build the team here. You can add to it, and you can also build for the future, which we know Bloom is obsessed with. So, and you also have Chris Sale coming back. So he's going to make a couple starts with the Woo Sox, and then he'll be back. So I think he'll give you something, whether that's 4 or 5 innings, a start, whatever, every 6th day, 7th day. I will take it all day until he gets to the postseason. So they need to add a first baseman, in my opinion. That's really the struggle spot of this team. Bobby Dahlbeck kind of blows. Actually, just kind of he blows. He doesn't kind of blow. He blows. But overall, they need to add there, and I'll be pissed if they don't because they're right there, and they're not that far ahead of Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay just made a move, and who knows what else they'll do. So Nelson Cruz obviously came back to Tampa Bay. I would like to see the Red Sox add something to give them, especially. You don't add to this team, doesn't the morale kind of come down a little bit? Like, man, we're right there, and you don't want to add to this team.
I don't know if the team itself will lose morale, but I will read into that the way I've been looking at them and saying, I don't actually think they're a championship team. I think they're good. They've proven they're good. Are they a championship team? If they don't add, then management is telling you, no, They're not. So why are we going to add to it? And I think it would take a lot of the wind out of fan sales. And I think, would it change? I don't think it would diminish them. I think they would stay the same. I do think adding would inject even more of this. All right, listen, the team really believes in us. Like it can't hurt to add. Especially since you do have some solvable problems. Nick in the comment section. Dahlbeck has his moments. He's on and off. I want to see them go get Rizzo.
No.
I'm
out on Rizzo.
Why?
You're going to have to give up prospects for a guy who has no term. And also, I don't think Rizzo, I think he's good, but I think his best days are behind him. I think he's a guy that could help you, but also you could get that for less, in my opinion. And I know Chaim Bloom doesn't want to give up a crap load of, whatever prospects, the number 7 prospect in the system. So, put it at Brian Bayo. I don't know, but they're going to have to give up a picture, especially Tanner Houck. I'm not giving up Houck for 1 year of Rizzo. So if you give up nothing, sure, I'll take Rizzo. But unfortunately, they're going to ask for more than that. I'm not giving up 2 prospects for Rizzo when he's probably going to bounce after this year. So I would rather see them get Hosmer because I think you could get a prospect back and he improves your first base spot. That's my biggest need is first base. And obviously, you could always use a pitcher, but with Sale coming back, hopefully, and Houck, I think, can help you this year. And that's another reason I'm not giving him up.
Non-Red Sox trade that you'd most want to see happen. Hey, I'd love to see this guy go from this team to this team and see what can happen.
Jeez.
Obviously, there's 8,562 players that could potentially be moving.
What are my options? I would say Rizzo is an interesting one.
Of the notable players who we know are available.
Yeah, sure. Rizzo's a guy that I would like to see move and see where he could go and help out a team that's in it. But I would like to see overall my ad is Hosmer to the Red Sox. That's where I'm at.
That's it. Number one MLB trade. Nick in the comment section, Bryant to the Mets. That could be an interesting one.
Bryant's another one. Yep, he could move. There could be some movement here, decent movement over the next week, leading up to the deadline.
Would you want the Red Sox? I mean, there's going to be some pitchers. I think. Did I hear Scherzer is a guy that could potentially be on the move too? I mean, he's got a big number. I think
he is one. He has a big number, but he's got no term after this year. So a team that's in it that could, that needs a starting pitcher, like the Red Sox would be there, but you'd have to give up way too much.
Do you want him in a post-Spider Tack era?
Yeah, I think I would take him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that kind of nuts up and does it anyway. Like I think he has good stuff. He's not Garrett Richards.
That's a drop we can use. Just a guy that nuts up and does it anyways.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that once I saw it.
Nick also says, if I'm the Red Sox, I want Joey Gallo. Don't know where you'd play him though. Is he have? Maybe I'm thinking no.
Fit.
I'm thinking
Gallo, come on over. We'll put you on the mound.
Man, we're actually gonna play 5 outfielders. It's a new thing. The super shift. We just play a guy at first, second, and then 5 outfielders.
Yeah. I would like to see Rizzo come to the Red Sox. It just depends on what you're giving up. That would really be my 1 and 1A, Rizzo Hosmer. I just think you're gonna have to give up too much for Rizzo that I don't want to do it.
I'm trying to look because I had Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo? No, I'm Joey Callow. Callo. I had Joey Gallo on my fantasy team for a while, and I had him as like an undrafted guy. So I was like, we have a legacy thing. So I was like keeping him in like the 28th round every year, just bumping him up a couple spots each year. Great draft and stash. I don't think I still had. Who was the other? I'm trying to think of. Eugenio Suarez. He's the guy I was thinking of who is having a terrible year. I look at the guys like that too. Like, who's the guy that's like having a terrible year that a team might just be like,
cut bait,
but has bounce back potential. So, I don't know. There's going to be we talk about not knowing NBA draft stuff. The amount of, you have to just focus on your team. There'll be a couple big names. There's so many small moves.
There's
We
too
have
many.
we have traded the rights to this single A ball player.
Yeah.
Okay.
No good.
Nick also says my ideal first baseman would be Matt Olson, but he's good. And so are the A's, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, no chance.
Well, yeah. I mean, now we're getting into fantasy land.
I want Pedro Martinez 98 from 98 back on this team. That would be my number one get right now. If I could add any player, give me the MLB 2021 the show Pedro Martinez card.
Hey, man, eventually someday we're going to get there. We're not even going to be watching real athletes play anymore. We're going to be watching simulations play against each other, which leads me to my final thing. I've been having all these things, which is like the final thing that I get Christian with now here on the show, and I want his reaction to. And I know I had already sent this to you, but this is somebody who I think the Philadelphia 76ers may be targeting in a trade. So let me go ahead here and share this screen so the live viewing audience can see. We'll tweet this out afterwards.
Bobby the Robo.
This was at halftime of the USA-France basketball game. This is a robot shooting the ball. So this is him shooting from 3, and it's good.
That
Perfect.
shot is divine though. Ooh,
Perfect.
what a stroke.
Nothing but net. And what's creepy is that I think it grabs the ball itself. I don't know if I'm trying to look here. Did they hand it to it, or does it grab the ball?
No, it grabs the ball, I'm pretty sure.
I think it grabs the ball. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it takes a long ass time though.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, right now, but still, yeah, it grabs the ball. It grabs the ball himself. He's lining it up. See, but if you're taking half court shots, guys are going to give you that until you realize that it's a robot and then he's going to, not miss. Half court for the game, sploosh.
Yeah.
Christian, are you excited when you see that, or are you terrified?
Maybe a little bit of both. I like to see that, but in hyper speed. Then we're talking.
Yeah.
So if that thing could just fly around, pick up the ball, and shoot it, and make it every time, now we're talking.
Well, just Steph Curry then.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Go to YouTube, put on Steph Curry highlights, and just watch them in 2 times speed, and that's basically what I want. But overall, yeah, it's frightening. Because who knows what else these robots are going to do. They're going to take I've seen the movie iRobot, so.
Are we going to have robots that flop?
I think you have to, right? And then we're going to have robot refs that give out technicals. Give me a full robot game, and I'll see where we're at.
That'll be at the next Olympics. When it comes back to Japan. Well, was it Japan or was it Korea that had the Gundam? They built a functioning Gundam robot, but it's slow. It can't fly, but they literally it walks. It can walk out from its station. It's it's cool. It's cool, but pretty soon they're gonna be we're gonna upload the defense system to it. It's no. Don't give it Wi-Fi access. No hotspots for that thing.
I just think okay, it's playing basketball, and then what if it you trigger something, its eyes turn red, and it starts going UFC on somebody? I don't know.
Or somebody like Marcus Smart gets under its skin, and all of a sudden it's did you ever see the movie the Iron Giant?
Yeah, I did.
Old school. All of a sudden, it just it triggers its kill protocols.
Yeah. That frightens me a little bit.
You would watch. You wouldn't take your eyes off a game, blowout or not. The robot might snap,
but not for good reason. I wouldn't be able to look away, but I also would want to look away.
Would you attend a game with the robot there? Would you
single robot?
A team of robots.
I would go. if they're
courtside,
you got to be a little bit faster though.
Courtside.
I'll wait 10 years when they're faster.
I don't know if you'll have them running fast enough, but they'll probably have them on wheels.
Put them on rollerblades.
Rollerblade around.
Let's just get nutty. Let's just put robots on rollerblades and see what happens.
If Delta really gets worse, that's what we're going to come to again. We're going to be discussing these things. Well, how can we have sports in a pandemic? Let's have robots on rollerblades.
And you just have them be controlled by the players.
Yeah, they're in an augmented reality.
Yeah. Now we've gone way down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
See, this is I like this though. When we do the night shows, we have these ideas. So, actually, I have these ideas all the time. I think you're just more willing to entertain them when you're a little sleepy.
Yeah, I think these are more entertaining.
Sweet dreams now.
Yeah. I'm gonna dream about robots tonight. Probably
mark tape on that one.
Me.
Mark tape on that one too. Anyways, well, that is going to do it for the show. We are live usually every Sunday. It's the summer. There's a lot going on. We've had weddings. We've had birthdays. So some of the shows we've been doing live on Monday, if that happens, the 4th of July, the Independence Day for this great nation. So we always will tweet out or post about when we're going live, but it's usually almost always Sundays at 11 on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch. And if you can't catch us live, you can always subscribe and listen to the podcast edition of the show through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcast from. And if you can't catch us on the live stream, you can always email the show, the360sportshow@gmail.com, to send us your questions, comments, or concerns. Robot game scenarios, we'll take it all. That could go down a crazy, weird rabbit hole.
There's a nice drop right there.
Robot game scenarios. Oh, boy.
And we'll take it all. So
we'll take it all. There's no such thing as too much content. So that'll do it for tonight's show. We'll be back on Sunday. By the way, we're not going to do a live show for the NBA because we weren't able to secure draft expert Matt Murphy because it's his birthday that night. So happy birthday to Matt Murphy. We'll see you all on Sunday.
Thank you for being born, so I don't have to talk about the draft.
Yes, I saved you. You get the night off, Christian. So he's Christian Lauber. I'm Andy Pizzelli. Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.